They say the worst she can do is say no. I held on to that thought like a child holds a night light. Comforting. Foolish. I had already made peace with the idea that Betty might reject me. Laugh. Even. But that felt safer than never trying. So I texted her on a Friday night, months after we last spoke. To my surprise, she said yes. We met at a nightclub, something loud and modern, where music thumped like a second heartbeat. The place had the usual smell of sweat, alcohol, and half-washed dreams. Betty was already at the bar when I arrived. She wore red. Her hair curled in ways it hadn't before, and her smile had a shape I didn't recognize. Still, she looked radiant. Happy. We talked, laughed, danced until my feet ached. She was magnetic in the way fire is beautiful. When you forget it can burn. I leaned in to apologize for how I'd handled our breakup. I told her I could have been better, that I was sorry. She smiled at that, not warmly, but with a detached softness. Yeah, she said, you should have, but it's all right. I hold no grudge. I should have left then, but her hand found mine, and the alcohol blurred the years between us. She leaned in and whispered something about a private after-party. Her place. Just the two of us. I nodded. Of course I did. Her apartment was a surprise. Large, tasteful, the kind of place that made you question what she did for a living. Velvet cushions, floor-to-ceiling windows, a subtle fragrance of incense and roses hung in the air. Champagne, she asked, already pouring. I took the glass. It fizzed like laughter. You stay here alone? I asked. Mostly, she said, turning away. Sometimes I bring dates. That should have sounded ordinary. It didn't. We moved to her bedroom, or so I thought. As I stepped through the threshold, she shoved me, gently, firmly, and shut the door behind me. It clicked. Locked. I laughed, thinking she was being playful. Betty? Still punishing me for last time. No answer. Then I heard a voice behind me. Male. Smooth and chilling. My, what a sweet candy you are. I turned. There was a man sitting on her bed, legs spread lazily. He wore only gym shorts. His skin was waxy under the dim light, and his fingers were too long, too still. Who? I started, but he cut me off with a grin. I'm SJ. Betty works for me. Officially, and otherwise. I stared, unblinking. Betty's laughter rang through the door like chimes in a crypt. Betty, open the door. She giggled. Sorry, I only listened to my boss. And then everything began to fade. The glass. The fizz. My body grew heavy. Limbs useless. The floor seemed to shift beneath me. Then nothing. When I came to, the world was dark. Not the gentle kind of darkness you ease into at night, but something stale and smothering, like breath held too long. My mouth tasted like metal. My head throbbed with a dull ache, and the air pressed close, warm and wrong. The ground beneath me wasn't ground. It was soft in places, wet in others. Textured. My vision slowly adjusted. First shapes, then movement. Flies. Dozens of them. Maybe more, clinging to every surface. Some on me. I tried to scream, but the sound caught in my throat. My lips trembled, but they made no sound. I raised a hand and saw the smear of blood. Not mine. I prayed. The smell around me was rot. Rot and mold and something sweet, like fruit gone too far. Garbage. I was lying in a pile of it. Rotten meat, sticky wrappers, broken glass. I scrambled up, slipping once on something gelatinous. My hands shook as I braced myself against the alley wall. A rat darted past my feet. My vision swam. My clothes, soaked, torn, and stained dark across the thighs, reeked of something that wasn't mine. My pants were wet. A red-black bloom spread across the fabric. There was pain, yes, but more than that, confusion. Shame. My phone was gone. My wallet too. My shoes missing. But something told me this wasn't a mugging. This wasn't random. I leaned against the wall, breathing in ragged bursts, trying to remember how I got here. Nothing. Just Betty's laughter. The man on the bed. The champagne fizzing. My name drifting into smoke. I made it home eventually. I don't remember how. I was barely aware of the streets I walked, the people I passed. If they looked at me, I didn't see. I think I cried, but the tears never made it out of me. My apartment door felt foreign in my hand. The key trembled in the lock. I barely made it to the bathroom before I collapsed under the shower. I stayed there for hours. The water was hot, then cold, then hot again. But it never felt cleansing. It only reminded me that I still existed. That something had happened to me I couldn't name. I never told anyone. Not my friends. Not my coworkers. Not even the mirror, really. I'd stand before it and stare, trying to find myself behind the hollow of my eyes. But he never came back. Just a stranger with too pale skin and silent lips. I checked my phone obsessively. Nothing from Betty. Not a word. I told myself I imagined it. A bad trip. A nightmare. But some nights, when the city is too quiet, and I pass alleyways that feel a little too dark, I catch the faintest smell of rotting perfume. And the memory peels itself open again, like a wound I can't cauterize. And I wonder, what did they want with me? What did they do? Time became uncertain after that night. I stopped going out, stopped answering calls. The world narrowed into my apartment, then into my bedroom, then into the quiet corner by the window where I sat most evenings, staring without seeing. Some part of me thought Betty would reach out, maybe with an explanation, a message, a punchline to the sick joke. But there was nothing. She'd vanished, leaving behind a silence that pressed heavier with each passing day. I tried convincing myself it was all a misunderstanding, that I had blacked out, embarrassed myself, and was dumped somewhere out of convenience, not cruelty. But denial only works when your memory plays along. Mine didn't. Each night, as the city dimmed and the shadows lengthened across my walls, the memory came back. Not all at once. In fragments. In whispers. The taste of the champagne, too sweet. The warmth in my body that arrived too quickly. The look in Betty's eyes, not flirtation, but calculation. The man's voice. SJ. His long fingers brushing his chest like a spider stretching across silk. And the stain on my pants. I couldn't stop thinking about that. Something had happened. Something deliberate. I started researching, but what do you search for when you're not sure if you've been assaulted, abducted, or simply broken? I searched anyway. Anonymous forums, horror stories, conspiracy threads. I kept circling words like trafficking, cults, black market bodies, and something even darker I dared not type. One night, I did something I hadn't done since that night. I left my apartment. I took the long route. My feet found the nightclub without instruction. I stood across the street, watching its neon sign flicker like a dying eye. And then I saw her. Betty. She was laughing, arm in arm with someone new. A young guy, wide-eyed, eager. Just like me. Her hair was different now. Longer, darker, but the smile was the same. I didn't call out. I followed. I kept my distance. Just enough to remain unseen, though I doubted she would have noticed anyway. She seemed fully invested in her new companion, whispering into his ear, giggling at his jokes. The same script she had used on me. They reached the same building, her luxurious apartment complex, and I stopped across the street, watching the glass doors swallow them whole. I stayed there for hours, until the lights in the unit above blinked out, until the street emptied. She was doing it again, to someone else. I should have called the police, should have run inside, should have done something, but I stood frozen, paralyzed by fear and memory, because part of me still didn't understand what I had been a part of, and a darker part feared the answer. Not all traps are meant to kill you. Some just make sure you never move again. I thought about confronting her, about walking into that building, finding her apartment, and asking why. Not yelling, not demanding, just asking. But I never did. I knew I wouldn't be the first to try, and I knew, just as surely, that I wouldn't be the first to disappear. Instead, I kept returning to that street. Always at night. Always when the city had quieted down enough to hear your own breath. I'd watch the windows, the lights, the shadows moving behind the blinds. Sometimes I'd see her silhouette pass, hair coiled, hips swaying like before. Sometimes I saw others, faces too pale, too blank. And sometimes I saw nothing at all. The man, SJ, I never saw again. But I felt him. In moments when I was alone and still. In dreams I didn't remember, but woke from sweating. I'd see flashes, long fingers, teeth like pearls soaked in honey, a voice without a body whispering, sweet candy. I knew then I hadn't just been drugged or used. I had been claimed. There was a piece of me they kept, something invisible but real, and I carried the absence like a scar. I couldn't laugh the same, couldn't drink, couldn't trust a kiss or a friendly invitation. That night hollowed out parts of me I didn't know could be touched. I never got a message from Betty again. But one morning, months later, I found a small envelope slipped under my door. No name, no return address, just a single piece of paper folded neatly inside. There were only 2 words on it. You remembered. I stared at it for a long time. The handwriting wasn't Betty's. It was looping, elegant, masculine. I didn't sleep that night. I packed a bag and left the city the next morning. Quit my job, changed numbers, blocked everyone I could think of. I told myself it was over. But the nightmares followed. And worse than the dreams were the moments I caught myself smiling at something I couldn't see. Something that felt inside me, as if whatever they had done wasn't Jew. Sometimes I laugh without knowing why. Sometimes I smell her perfume in a place she's never been. And sometimes I see myself in the mirror and feel like I'm looking at a guest. A version of me they built. I haven't told anyone. I don't think I ever will. Because there are no words for it. No language for the horror that whispers instead of screams. That undresses you slowly. Not your body, but your mind. But I write this now because there might be others like me. Others who believe that the worst she could do was say no. No, my friend. The worst she can do is say yes.